As you grow up, you become hyper aware of what people are saying and doing around you. And that starts to affect the way you behave and what you actually think that you should or shouldn't be doing. We failed. I'm a failure. And so you don't want to continue with the gift, with your talents, with the skills that you should. I don't like this idea that we will demonize people for not just giving everything that they work for, everything out freely, and having nothing left for themselves. Start to take your skills, your talents and your gifts and share them with the world, and also get something in exchange. Hey, what's up? I'm Adam if you're new here, and if you're returning, then you know what's good. Let's talk about your gifts, your talents, your skills. How do you identify them, nurture them, and then share them with the world? Whether it's to monetize, to generate an income doing something that you enjoy, whether it's to help enrich the people around you, your community, your family, your friends, people online. I was actually prompted to do this video because of a comment that I got on a video when I was talking about why we don't execute, why we don't make the most of the gifts that we have and the skills that we work so hard to create. And one of the comments was, can you tell us actually, how to identify our talents and then use them? And it seems so simple, but it's actually true. Like, how do you identify what these are and then actually make them better and enrich them? And that's what I want to get into in this video. So let's just get into it. So let's start with identifying your skills, your talents, your gifts. Because I think at first this can feel really overwhelming. Like, what am I good at? What do I have a natural inclination towards? Or, what is my gift? And so instead, I think it's about a data collection process. I always like to go down this route of how can I gather the information that I need to work out where I am and where I want to be? And this really is an exercise in self-discovery. But one way that you can identify some of the talents that you have, some of the things that you already embody, is by asking others. And now this seems maybe like a weird place to start because we're always taught to look inwards. And whilst that can be very useful, if you are starting a blank and trying to work out what it is that you're good at, what it is that others look to you for, then it's useful to, ask others. And we can actually start all the way back in like school days, like what were teachers saying were your strengths, right? But then all the way to what do your friends say that are your strengths? What do they come to you for? Do they come to you for advice? Are you the friend that people come to for, fitness advice or actually just general life advice? Or are you the person who recommends the books to the group? Like, what is it that people come to you for, that they look to you for guidance effectively? And this can be a really powerful starting point. For example, when I was working out some of the things that I might want to go into, kind of in my school days, I noticed that people said I was good at speaking. I was good at communicating ideas and distilling sometimes quite complex ideas into simple ones that anyone can digest and make use of. And so it was really important for me to get that feedback, both from my teachers in school, but also from my friends and my family, the people that I was communicating with regularly. And then the more that I put myself out there, the more feedback that I got, to help me identify again where my gifts may actually be and where I might want to spend more of my time as I show up even here. So think about what people have said to you in the past. Think about all those comments, write them down. And if you're not sure or you've forgotten, don't be afraid to ask, right? Like, don't be afraid to reach out, even to say your boss. They'll probably be quite, impressed that you're asking about what it is that makes you so valuable to the team. What is it that makes you so valuable to your friendship group, to your family, right, to the people around you? So the next step in identifying your skills and your talents is actually to look towards your interests. And the reason why this can be so powerful is because if you have a natural interest in something, right, something really engages you, then it's really easy, or easier anyway, to start developing your skills in that thing. It is very burdensome when you don't enjoy something and you are really trying to get good at it. It's very difficult, right, because you're just intrinsically not interested in the thing. For example, I keep coming back to YouTube. I used to love watching YouTube. I was obsessed. I still am. And so I started to think there may be something here. Why am I so interested in not just as watching YouTube and enjoying it, but I'm interested in the creators. I'm interested in the process, how they did what they did. And so that was a signal to me that there may be something here, something that's worth exploring, something that may be a talent, a gift, an interest, or a skill set that I could adopt, that I could start to grow and nurture. Okay, and so leading on from that, actually passions and interesting, is actually going back to when you was in childhood and some of the things that you were interested in doing. And the reason why this is so important is because as you grow up, you become hyper aware of what people are saying and doing around you. And that starts to affect the way you behave and what you actually think that you should or shouldn't be doing. And actually even what you think your gifts are and your talents are and what's worth actually nurturing. But at childhood, you still have this I wouldn't say naivety, I'd say it's something else, something quite beautiful where you just explore. You explore for the sake of exploration, and you do the things that you enjoy and you lean into them as a kid in nursery. Like if you don't want to play with the sandbox and you just like the books, and you just go and sit over there in the books, right? And just enjoy those things. And you don't care that somebody said that you should be building a sandcastle over there because you want to do this. For example, there are a few things that I loved doing as a child. I loved telling stories. I loved writing stories and telling stories. Now, I'm not very good at writing, in all fairness. And so as somebody growing up now, I probably would have said, you know, there's no point you doing scripts and anything like that because you're not all that good. But as a kid, I didn't care. Like, I could write great stories. They may not have been the most grammatically correct, but they were great stories. And I loved sharing them. It wasn't just about writing the story. It was about taking people on a journey. I liked reading out loud, but also I loved knowing why things happened. It wasn't just enough to tell me like this was it. Like, you know, I wanted to know why that was the case. And that, again, that curiosity as a child with that wanting to tell stories and craft stories and take people on journeys, those were signs, again, that have led to me where I am today. And even, again, content creation and the things that I like to do online and offline and how I like to engage with the people around me. I'm carrying a lot of those traits and a lot of those behaviors from childhood and bringing them to the present. And so this is your starting point. Write all of this stuff down, get it on paper or in Notion or whatever it is you use to take notes, and start to craft the picture of the things that you may want to start diving deeper into. And it's not about doing everything all at once because, as I said, that leads to burnout. And honestly, you can't give everything the attention that it needs and requires to flourish. But start to identify the things that you may want to start looking into and go with it. And don't be afraid to abandon things and try new things, right? Okay, so that's part one, identifying. But now we need to talk about actually developing these skills, developing these gifts and nurturing them so they can flourish and we can be the best version of ourselves. Just like almost anything that we are trying to achieve, a gift or a talent, nurturing that and bringing it to fruition requires continuous discipline and practice, right? The endeavor requires practice, but then it's about organizing that practice in a way that leads to the outcomes that we want. I'm going to actually take the example of public speaking for this because I think it's nice to illustrate what we're talking about here. So if we're talking about the first step in the practice, well, we need to know what we're trying to achieve. And whilst goals are not the be all and end all, they can provide an anchor point. So let's say that we want to do 2 public speaking events with an audience of over 50 at each of them in the next 6 months. That is a clear goal that we are trying to achieve. But then it's about how are we going to refine our skills within this time frame then, you know, the 6 months we have, or, you know, the 3 months until our first engagement. How are we going to ensure that we show up as our best selves? That we bring this gift to life? Well, in the example of public speaking, you may be looking at getting better at writing. Maybe you need to read more so that you can expand your vocabulary. Maybe you need to practice writing and speaking in front of your friends and family so that you can get feedback. Perhaps you need to work on your tone and pacing, maybe even things like breath control. All of the things that make up the gift, write it down. Whatever it is that you decided you were going to pursue, write all the things that it takes to be the best version of that. And this is where mentors become very important. And sometimes you will have a mentor that is directly engages with you and you can ask questions and get on phone calls, but that's not always the case. People are very busy and it's very hard to access that at times. But this is why in the age of the internet and YouTube and videos, you can adopt your own mentors, right? You can pick people and be like, I'm going to learn from you. You have maybe somebody who does TED Talks or does public speaking talks and you love the way that they are able to engage their audience and the value and the tone and the pacing, everything of their speeches is something that you look up to and that you think you would like to embody in part, not because you're trying to replicate them, but because you can see the value that they are providing there and you want a bit of it. And so that's what this step is about. It's about mentors. It's about finding your mentors and learning from them. And then adding on, layer on top. Now you get to add things that make you you and that make you brilliant and bring your experiences to these fundamental things that this mentor does well, but we're combining them to make something new. And this really falls under the larger umbrella of resources, right? Your mentor and all the data and information you have on them is a resource. Also books, of course, tutorials, consultations, all of these things are ways that you can help yourself get closer to the goals that you want. Get closer to giving your gift everything, giving it everything that you can. The next thing then is about building in time into your everyday to nurture this gift. Again, it's not enough to just say that I've identified it. Well, I mean, this is a mentor that seems interesting or somebody I'd look up to. How are you going to make this a part of your everyday or every week or every month? However frequently do you decide that you need to do this and practice in order to be the best version of yourself? Bake that in into your schedule. And I guess the final thing, and here loops back to that original video that kind of prompted this all, is learning to embrace failure and success along this route. There are so many reasons why we don't execute, right? Even when we know what our talents are, some of the gifts we have, some of the skills that we want to kind of lean into, we still don't execute. And success and failure and how we interact and how we internalize it is one of the biggest challenges that any of us will overcome. Because as I've said before, success is great and it makes us feel amazing when we are achieving and we internalize it. It's a win for us, we won. But when it comes to failure, that same method, that same way of looking at it can basically end us, destroy us, because we're like, we failed, I'm a failure. And so you don't want to continue with the gift, with your talents, with the skills that you should be giving your all to, because you see yourself as a failure. So I would highly recommend after this video that you circle back to that one if you're still wanting more information on, how you can ensure that you do execute once you have these talents figured out. Just a few other little tips that will help you in the journey of developing a skill, a talent, a gift are things like making sure that you are noting your small victories, right? That you're setting yourself up to collect those, because humans love progress. We all love to see that we are inching closer and closer towards our goals, that we are getting better every day, incrementally. The next thing is about joining communities and getting a support group and engaging with people who are like you. So many of the things we try to do alone, and we don't engage the group. We don't engage. One of the best things about being a human is this ability to make social connections, right? To make connections with others that are like us, or sometimes not like us, but that we have commonalities that we can exploit and we can explore. And also note down your learnings. Don't just assume that you're going to remember everything and everything will just stick in your head. Take notes just as you would in school or in university or even at work. Take notes so that you can look back, you can reflect on what you're learning, you can reflect again on your progress, and feed all of this back into yourself. And the final part about this, and perhaps one of the most important, is the sharing element of this, right? Sharing your talents and your skills with the world. And in the book that I was reading earlier, it did say that you have a duty, if you have identified your gifts and your talents, to share that with the world. So I'm actually going to split the sharing portion into two: monetization and non-monetization. So let's talk about money first. There is nothing wrong once you have identified that you have certain skills and gifts and you work to make yourself the best that you can be at that, right? Every day you're putting in the work, whether it's time, energy, whether you're spending money, to upskill. There's nothing wrong with then wanting to engage in an exchange with another person. So long as you are bringing value and the other person believes that, then there is nothing wrong with the exchange of that occurring and money being transferred. I don't like this idea that we will demonize people for not just giving everything that they work for, everything out freely, and having nothing left for themselves. And so that's one way. Think about how you can bring value. This is the ultimate thing, and where it can't really ever be a bad thing, because if you are giving to others, right, if you are providing a valuable service or a valuable product that is helping enrich the other person's life, whether it be enriching in terms of entertainment, or whether it be enriching in terms of knowledge, or whether it be for, their own financial journey, whatever it is you're bringing, fitness, you are enriching that person's life. They are able to bypass perhaps the years of training and research and all of that you've done. They get to access that directly from you or your product. So that's one way that you can start to take your skills, your talents and your gifts and share them with the world, and also get something in exchange. With all that being said, there is still a duty on us to share where we can and contribute where we can without money being involved, right? Let's go back to that public speaking example that we had. If I have got this talent and I've been nurturing it and developing and working on it, I'm able to share that with my community, perhaps in terms of charity, right? I know that I'm good at giving speeches and convincing people of things, and perhaps I take that skill to a charity event and I am the person who is hosting it, encouraging people to share with the community, whether it's to donate money, time, skills, energy, whatever it is. Or perhaps you want to share freely in the form of teaching and mentoring. You have the skills, you have these talents and gifts, and you want to share that with somebody else. You want to teach somebody else how to go along your path or how to learn from your path. Another quite obvious one that I guess I'm doing now and that a lot of us do is sharing on social media. We now have the ability to reach millions, if not billions of people across the internet. And so why not use that avenue to share what you have learned, to share what you have, to share what you've been nurturing, so that others again may learn from you or take, get entertainment from you, whatever it is. They can engage with you and what you've learned in your gifts. And the final way I'll talk about is actually collaborating with others in your field. So perhaps there's a crossover. You have your gifts and your skills and your talents, and somebody else has another set. And there's a way for you guys to bring these together to, again, take things to another level, to bring more people in so that more people can learn and share and grow and monetize and not monetize and give to charity and enrich their communities and their families. And all of this by you two or you group of people coming together with your gifts and your talents. I don't know if that's a series of birds or car alarms. Anyway, I hope this was useful and that you may be encouraged to explore the gifts and the talents that you may be sitting on, or the ones that you've never thought that you should really explore, but you know, now you're going to give it a go, or at least consider it. That would be enough for me. Anyway, do check out that video I was speaking about earlier over here, and I will see you in the next one.